The text message from my wife's sister arrived at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, and it changed everything. Danny's moving in with you guys for a few months. He needs family support right now. Thanks for understanding. XOXO-Lisa. I stared at my phone, coffee mug halfway to my lips, wondering when exactly my wife Sarah had volunteered our spare bedroom to her unemployed 32-year-old brother without bothering to mention it to me, the same brother who'd been finding himself for the past decade while bouncing between family members' couches and half-baked business schemes. My name is Mike Patterson, and I'm a 41-year-old electrician who spent the last 15 years building a decent life in Portland, Oregon. I wake up at 5:30 every morning, work honest jobs wiring houses and fixing electrical problems, and come home to a wife who apparently makes major household decisions via text message with her sister. Sarah, I called upstairs, hearing the shower running. Did you forget to tell me something? No answer. Of course. 20 minutes later, she came downstairs in her real estate agent uniform, sharp blazer, perfect makeup, that smile she wore for clients. Morning, honey. Running late for a showing. I held up my phone. Care to explain this? She glanced at the screen, her expression shifting to that practiced innocent look I'd seen her use on difficult buyers. Oh, that. Danny's going through a rough patch. His startup failed and he got evicted. It's just temporary. Temporary like his last 3 jobs? Or temporary like when he borrowed our car for a week and returned it with a dented bumper and an empty gas tank? Mike, he's family. We have the space because it's my workshop, where I restore vintage radios. Remember the hobby you said you supported? Sarah's smile tightened. It's just a few months. Besides, maybe it's time you found a more productive hobby. That stung. Those vintage radios weren't just a hobby. They were my escape, my way of working with my hands on something beautiful instead of just functional. Each one was a puzzle, a piece of history I brought back to life. When's he arriving? Today, around noon. I checked my watch, 7:15. Great, so I get 4 hours notice that my workshop becomes a bedroom. Don't be dramatic. You can work on your 15 years of marriage, and she still didn't understand that my 1938 Zenith Transoceanic wasn't a little radio. It was a masterpiece of engineering that took me 3 months to restore. I have to go, Sarah said, grabbing her keys. Please be nice to Danny. He's been through a lot. The door slammed before I could respond. At exactly noon, a rusted Honda Civic pulled into our driveway, music thumping loud enough to rattle our front windows. Danny emerged, wearing ripped jeans, a faded band t-shirt, and that cocky grin that had been getting him out of trouble since high school. Mike, my man! He approached with arms spread wide for a hug I didn't want. Thanks for letting me crash. This is going to be awesome. It's temporary, I said, not moving from the doorway. Totally, just until I get my next venture off the ground. I've got this amazing idea for an app that connects dog walkers with. Your stuff's in the car? Yeah, just a few bags. Oh, and my gaming setup. And my keyboard. I'm working on some music too. Multi-talented, you know? 2 hours later, my peaceful workshop had been transformed into what looked like a teenager's bedroom. Clothes everywhere, energy drink cans on my workbench, and a gaming chair positioned directly in front of my carefully organized radio components. This is perfect, Danny said, flopping onto the futon Sarah had ordered without consulting me. Great natural light for my live streams. Live streams? Yeah, I'm building a following on Twitch. Gaming, music, lifestyle. People want to see the real you. I watched him unpack a collection of action figures and arrange them on the shelf, where I'd displayed my restored 1940s Philco radio. He moved my radio aside like it was junk mail. Careful with that. It's worth more than your car. Danny laughed. Come on, Mike. It's just an old radio. You can probably get the same thing on Amazon for $20. That night, Sarah came home to find me in the garage, trying to set up a workspace between paint cans and lawn equipment. How's it going with Danny? She asked. He called my 1940 Crosley bandbox just an old radio, and used my precision screwdriver set to open a can of energy drink. You're being oversensitive. He's adjusting. He's 32 years old, Sarah. When does the adjusting end and the being a functional adult begin? He's trying. This app idea sounds promising. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. When had she started taking Danny's side in everything? When had my feelings about my own house stopped mattering? How long is temporary exactly? I don't know, a few months, maybe longer if he needs it. And I don't get a vote? Of course you get a vote, but he's family, Mike. Family helps family. The next morning, I woke up to find Danny in my kitchen, using my coffee maker to brew some organic fair trade blend he'd bought with money he'd borrowed from Sarah. He was on the phone, pacing around in boxers and a tank top. No, you don't understand the vision, he was saying. This isn't just an app, this is a lifestyle platform. We're talking about disrupting the entire pet care industry. I poured myself coffee from the dregs he'd left, weak and bitter. Morning, Mike. Danny covered his phone. I'm talking to potential investors. This could be huge. Investors? Well, investor. This guy I met online, but he's connected, has money to spend on the right opportunities. After Danny disappeared into my former workshop for his important business calls, I went to check on my radio collection in the garage. What I found made my blood pressure spike. My 1938 Zenith, the crown jewel of my collection, the radio I'd spent months hunting for parts, was sitting on the concrete floor. Not on a shelf, not on a towel, but directly on the cold, damp concrete, where condensation could destroy the delicate internal components. Danny, did you move my Zenith radio? He looked up from his laptop. The big wooden one? Yeah, I needed more space for my equipment. That thing's massive. It's a vintage 1938 Transoceanic. It's worth $3,000. Seriously? For a radio? He laughed. Dude, you could buy like 100 radios for that much money. It's not about the money. It's about the history, the craftsmanship. Right. I get it. Old stuff. Very cool. He turned back to his screen. Hey, do you know the Wi-Fi password? I'm trying to upload content and it's running super slow. That evening, Sarah brought home takeout Chinese food, Danny's favorite. We sat around our dining room table, which now had a permanent ring stain from where Danny had set his energy drinks without using coasters. So, Danny, Sarah said, tell Mike about your app idea. Danny's eyes lit up. Okay, so picture this. Pet Connect. It's like Uber, but for pet services. Dog walking, pet sitting, grooming, all in one platform. The user interface is going to be revolutionary. Sounds like every other gig economy app, I said. That's what makes it genius. We're taking a proven model and development costs are higher than I expected. I need about $50,000 to build the platform and get it to market. Sarah nearly choked on her low mane. $50,000? It's an investment in our future. I mean, my future, but I'd totally cut you guys in as early investors. Family discount. Where are you planning to get $50,000? I asked. Danny glanced at Sarah, then back at me. I was hoping... Sarah mentioned you guys have some savings. The room went quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator. You want us to fund your app? I said. Not fund, invest. There's a difference. This is going to be huge, Mike. I can feel it. Like your food truck idea was going to be huge, or your cryptocurrency mining operation. Those were learning experiences. This is different. Sarah reached across the table and touched Danny's hand. We'll think about it. Okay? After Danny went to bed, in my workshop, in my space, I confronted Sarah. We are not giving your brother $50,000. It's not giving, it's investing. In what? Another one of his failed schemes? Sarah, he's never held a job for more than 6 months. He's never finished anything he started. He's living in our house rent-free, and now he wants our life savings? It's not our entire life savings. It's most of it. That money is for our future, for emergencies, for the house repairs we've been putting off. Maybe this is our chance to make real money, to not worry about house repairs. I stared at my wife. You're serious. Danny's smart, Mike. He just needs the right opportunity. Danny's a 32-year-old child who thinks the world owes him success, and you're enabling him. I'm supporting my family. What about supporting your husband? Sarah's expression hardened. You're being selfish. This could change everything for us. Or it could bankrupt us. You never want to take risks. You're content to just exist. Fix electrical problems and play with old radios forever. Those old radios are worth more than Danny's last 3 business ideas combined. They're just things, Mike. This is about family. The next week fell into a routine that slowly drove me insane. Danny slept until noon. Spent the afternoon on business calls that sounded more like video game sessions, and occupied the kitchen every evening, cooking elaborate meals he never cleaned up after. My friend Tom stopped by Thursday evening to help me move some of my radio equipment to the garage. Tom's been my best friend since high school. We served in the Army together, stood up at each other's weddings, and spent countless weekends working on projects in my shop. "This is temporary, right?" Tom asked, carefully carrying my 1941 Emerson to the garage. "That's what they keep telling me." "And the app thing?" "Sarah's actually considering it." $50,000, Tom. Our entire emergency fund. For an app about dog walking? Pet services. Apparently there's a difference. Tom shook his head. "Remember when we were kids and we thought adults had everything figured out?" "I remember when my house was my house." That's when Danny appeared in the garage doorway, holding his phone. "Hey, Mike, I need to ask you something. This investor wants to see our commitment level. He's asking about collateral."
What kind of collateral?
Well, he mentioned that property equity is really attractive to serious investors.
I set down the radio I was holding.
Property equity? Like, if we use the house as collateral, it would show we really believe in the project. It's totally safe. Just a formality. Tom stepped forward. "Did you just suggest they mortgage their house for your app idea?" "Not mortgage. Leverage. It's a common business practice. You want them to risk their home so you can build an app?" Danny's confident demeanor faltered slightly. "It's not risky if you believe in the project." "And if the project fails?" Tom asked. "It won't fail. But if it does?" "Look, I don't know who you are, but this is family business." Tom looked at me, then back at Danny. "I'm the guy who helped Mike wire this entire house. I'm the guy who was here when Mike's dad died and Sarah was too busy showing houses to comfort her husband. I'm the guy who's watched Mike build something real while you've been bouncing between couches for 10 years. "Tom," I said quietly. "No, Mike. This kid needs to hear this. You don't risk your family's home for a maybe. You don't move into someone's house and immediately start asking for their life savings. And you sure as hell don't treat people's hospitality like it's something you're entitled to." Danny's face flushed red. "Sarah said you guys were supportive. She said you understood family loyalty." "Family loyalty goes both ways," Tom said. "What have you done for them?" "I don't have to listen to this from some random friend." "Random friend? I've known Mike longer than you've been able to tie your own shoes." That's when Sarah's car pulled into the driveway. She walked into the garage and immediately sensed the tension. "What's going on?" "Your brother just asked us to mortgage our house for his app," I said. "And his friend here has been attacking me," Danny added. Sarah looked at Tom with an expression I'd never seen before. Cold, dismissive. "I think you should leave, Tom." "Sarah," Tom started. "This is family business. Mike can handle his own conversations." Tom looked at me, waiting for me to say something, to defend our friendship, to tell Sarah she was out of line. I should have. But I was tired of fighting, tired of being the bad guy in my own house. "Maybe you should go," I said quietly. The hurt in Tom's eyes was immediate and sharp. He nodded slowly, set down the radio he'd been holding, and walked to his truck without another word. "That was unnecessary," Sarah said after he left. "Tom was just trying to help." "Help what? Help you kick my brother out? Help you crush his dreams? Help me keep our house." Danny's not asking us to give him the house. He's asking us to believe in him, to invest in family. With our house as collateral, Sarah. If his app fails, we lose everything. It won't fail. How do you know? Because I believe in him. Because sometimes you have to take risks to get ahead in life. Danny, who'd been watching this exchange like a tennis match, stepped forward. "I really appreciate you both believing in me. This means everything." "We haven't agreed to anything yet," I said. "But we are considering it," Sarah said firmly. "Aren't we, Mike?" The next morning, I called Tom to apologize. His wife Jennifer answered. "He doesn't want to talk to you, Mike." "Jen, please. I was in a tough spot. Sarah was what? Holding a gun to your head? Tom has been your friend for 25 years. He was looking out for you, and you threw him under the bus for some loser who wants to steal your house." "Danny's not trying to steal our house. Wake up, Mike. That's exactly what he's doing. And your wife is helping him." The line went dead. I tried calling back. No answer. That afternoon, I stopped by the hardware store where Tom and I usually met for coffee on Fridays. He wasn't there. I asked Bill, the owner, if he'd seen Tom. "He was in yesterday," Bill said. "Mentioned something about you choosing sides. Seemed pretty upset." "Did he say anything else?" "Said some people show their true colors when things get tough. Didn't sound like he was talking about the weather." I drove to Tom's house. His truck was in the driveway, but no one answered the door. I could see him through the window, sitting in his living room watching TV. He saw me too, but he didn't get up. Over the next few days, I tried reaching out to other friends. My buddy Dave from work was polite but distant. "Heard you had some family drama," he said. "Probably best if I stay out of it." "Stay out of what? There's nothing to stay out of." Tom's been talking. "Says you chose your wife's deadbeat brother over 25 years of friendship. Says you're considering some crazy business deal. It's not crazy, it's complicated. Mike, I've known you since you started at Morrison Electric. You're not a complicated guy. You're a straight shooter who works hard and treats people right. This doesn't sound like you. People change." "Yeah," Dave said. "Sometimes, not for the better." By the end of the week, I realized I'd lost more than my workshop. I'd lost my friends. The guys who used to come by on weekends to work on projects, to drink beer and solve the world's problems. They were gone, not because of anything I'd done directly, but because I'd failed to stand up for what mattered when it counted. Sarah seemed oblivious to what was happening. She was focused entirely on Danny's app, spending evenings researching business loans and investment strategies. She'd transformed from my wife into Danny's business partner, and I was just the guy who paid the mortgage. "I think we should do it," she announced over dinner on Friday night. "The investment. I've run the numbers, and even in a worst-case scenario, we'd be okay." "What worst-case scenario?" I asked. "If the app doesn't perform as expected, we could sell the house, pay off the loan, and rent for a while. It's not ideal, but it's not catastrophic." "Sell our house? Sarah, we've lived here for 8 years. This is our home." "It's just a house, Mike. This is about our future." "Our future or Danny's future?" Danny looked up from his phone. "Hey, I'm sitting right here." "I know exactly where you're sitting. In my workshop, at my dining table, planning to risk my house for your app." "Our house," Sarah corrected. "And it's not just Danny's app anymore. I'm going to be a partner. We're going to do this together." That was news to me. "Since when?" "Since I realized Danny needed someone with business experience to help guide the project, someone who understands marketing and customer relations." "You sell houses, Sarah. That doesn't make you a tech entrepreneur." "It makes me more qualified than someone who just fixes electrical problems." The contempt in her voice was unmistakable. After 15 years of marriage, my wife had just reduced my career, my contribution to our life together, to just fixes electrical problems. Those electrical problems pay for this house. They paid for your real estate license. They paid for the car you drive and the clothes you wear. And they'll never pay for anything more than that. Don't you want more, Mike? Don't you want to build something significant? I do build things. I restore things. I fix things that are broken. Old radios aren't a legacy, Mike. They're a hobby. And failed apps are? Danny slammed his hand on the table. "It's not going to fail. Why can't you believe in something for once in your life?" "Because I've watched you fail at everything you've touched for 10 years. Because you've never finished anything you've started. Because you're asking me to risk everything I've worked for on your track record of failure." "That's enough," Sarah said. "Danny, go to your room. Mike and I need to talk." Your room. My workshop had become Danny's room. After Danny left, Sarah and I sat in silence for several minutes. "If you won't sign the papers, I'll find another way. What other way? I have options. I have my own credit, my own assets. What assets? Everything we own together. Not everything. She was right, and we both knew it. Sarah had inherited some money from her grandmother. Not enough for Danny's app, but enough to cause serious problems if she decided to risk it. Sarah, please think about this. Really think about it. Danny has never succeeded at anything business-related. Ever. Why would this be different? Because he's never had proper support before. He's never had someone who believed in him. His parents believed in him. They funded his food truck idea. That was different. How? He was younger then, less experienced. He was 30. And the food truck failed because he spent more money on custom paint than on permits and insurance. People learn from their mistakes. Do they? Because his cryptocurrency mining operation failed because he didn't research electricity costs. His dropshipping business failed because he didn't understand inventory management. His social media consulting company failed because he spent more time posting about his lifestyle than actually helping clients. You're being negative. I'm being realistic. Sarah, I love you. I've loved you for 15 years, but I will not risk our home for Danny's app. Then I guess we have a problem. That night, Sarah slept in the guest bedroom. I lay awake in our king-size bed, staring at the ceiling and wondering when my marriage had become a negotiation with my wife's family. The next morning, I found Sarah and Danny at the kitchen table with a laptop and a stack of papers. What's this? Business loan applications, Sarah said without looking up. If you won't co-sign for the equity loan, we'll find other financing. With what collateral? My inheritance money as a down payment, and Danny's projected earnings as income verification. Danny doesn't have any earnings. He will once the app launches. You can't use projected earnings from a non-existent business as income verification. Danny looked up from the laptop. Actually, you can. It's called forward-looking financial planning. Lots of entrepreneurs do it. Lots of entrepreneurs also go bankrupt. Not the successful ones. I poured myself coffee and sat down across from them. Okay, let's say you get the loan. Let's say you build the app. Let's say it actually works. What then? Then we scale, Danny said. Expand to new markets, add new features, maybe sell to a bigger company. And if it doesn't work? It will work. But if it doesn't, Sarah answered. Then we'll figure it out. That's what people do, Mike. They take risks and figure things out. People also lose their houses and file for bankruptcy. That's not going to happen. How do you know? Because we're not going to let it happen. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. The woman I'd married was practical, careful with money, skeptical of get-rich-quick schemes. This woman was willing to bet our future on her brother's track record of failure. I'm going to work, I said. It's Saturday. I have a service call. Mrs. Henderson's outlet isn't working. You're running away. I'm going to work. Some of us still do that. I spent the day at Mrs. Henderson's house, replacing a GFCI outlet that had failed. Simple, straightforward work with a predictable outcome. Fix the problem, test the circuit, collect payment. No vision statements, no projected earnings, no revolutionary platforms. Mrs. Henderson made me lunch, and we talked about her late husband, who'd been an electrician too. He always said the best thing about electrical work was that it was honest, she told me. Either the power flows or it doesn't. Either you fix it or you don't. No middle ground. When I got home that evening, I found Tom's truck in my driveway. He was sitting on my front porch, looking older than I'd seen him look in years. Tom. Mike. I'm glad you're here. I've been trying to call. I know. Jennifer told me. We sat in silence for a moment. I owe you an apology, I said. Yeah, you do. I should have stood up for you. I should have told Sarah she was out of line. Why didn't you? Because I was tired of fighting. Because I was tired of being the bad guy in my own house. So you made me the bad guy instead. I didn't mean for that to happen. But it did happen. 25 years of friendship, Mike. 25 years, and you threw me out for a guy who wants to steal your house? He's not trying to steal my house, Tom laughed bitterly. Jesus, Mike. You really don't see it, do you? See what? This whole thing. The app. The investment. Moving into your workshop? It's a con. Danny's running a con on you and Sarah, and she's too blinded by family loyalty to see it. It's not a con. It's just complicated. No, it's not complicated. It's simple. Danny needs money. You and Sarah have money. So he moves in, makes himself comfortable, gets Sarah emotionally invested in his success, and then asks for everything you've got. Sarah believes in the app. Sarah believes in Danny. There's a difference. Maybe the app could work. Maybe I could win the lottery. Maybe aliens could land tomorrow. Maybe doesn't pay mortgages, Mike. I wanted to argue with him, but I was tired of arguing. Tired of defending decisions I wasn't sure I believed in myself. What am I supposed to do, Tom? She's my wife. She's your wife, not your owner. You're allowed to have opinions about your own life. If I don't support this, she'll do it anyway, with her inheritance money. Then let her. And if it fails, then it fails. But at least you won't have enabled it. She'll blame me. She's already blaming you for not being supportive enough, not being visionary enough, not being willing to take risks. When's the last time she said something positive about your work, about your hobbies, about anything you care about? I couldn't remember. Tom, I don't know how to fix this. Maybe you can't fix it. Maybe some things are too broken to fix. Are we talking about the app or my marriage? I don't know. Are we? That night, Sarah came home late from what she called a strategy session with Danny. They'd been meeting with potential investors, friends of friends who might be interested in getting in on the ground floor of the next big thing. How did it go? I asked. Really well. There's a lot of interest. People understand the vision. What people? Business people? Entrepreneurs? People who think big. Do any of these people have actual money to invest? Some do. Others have connections. It's about building a network, Mike. Creating buzz. Creating buzz doesn't pay developers. The buzz leads to investment. The investment pays developers. And if the buzz doesn't lead to investment, it will. But if it doesn't... Sarah set down her purse and looked at me with the expression she usually reserved for difficult clients. Why are you so determined to see this fail? I'm not determined to see it fail. I'm trying to understand what happens if it does fail. It won't fail. Sarah, please, just humor me. What happens if Danny's app fails? Then we'll have tried. We'll have taken a shot at something bigger than fixing electrical outlets and selling houses. And we'll be broke. We'll figure it out. How? The same way everyone else figures it out. We'll work harder, make sacrifices, rebuild. Rebuild from what? If we lose the house, if we default on loans, if we destroy our credit, what do we rebuild from? We rebuild from each other, from our marriage, from our commitment to each other. I looked at my wife and realized she genuinely believed what she was saying. She truly thought that love and commitment could overcome financial ruin, that our marriage was strong enough to survive losing everything we'd worked for. Sarah, I need you to understand something. If we do this, if we risk our house, our savings, our future, and it fails, I don't think our marriage will survive it. Why not? Because you'll blame me for not being supportive enough, and I'll blame you for risking everything we built together on your brother's pipe dream.
So you're saying you won't support me?
I'm saying I won't risk our home for Danny's app.
Same thing.
No, it's not. I'll support you in anything reasonable, anything that doesn't threaten our basic security. This isn't threatening our security. It's improving it. By risking everything we have. By investing in our future. We were talking in circles, and we both knew it. I'm going to bed, I said. Mike, wait. I need to tell you something. I turned back. I already submitted the loan application using my inheritance as collateral. The words hit me like a physical blow. You what? I submitted the application today. Danny needed to show momentum to his potential investors. How much? $30,000. It's not the full amount, but it's enough to get started. Sarah, that money was supposed to be for emergencies. This is an emergency. Danny's opportunity has a limited window. If we don't move now, someone else will develop a similar app. Let them. I can't do that to my brother. But you can do it to your husband. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for us, without consulting me. You would have said no. You're damn right I would have said no. That's why I didn't ask. I stood in our living room, looking at the woman I'd been married to for 15 years, and realized I didn't recognize her anymore.
When did you stop respecting me? I asked.
I do respect you. No, you don't. You think I'm small and unambitious and boring. You think my work doesn't matter and my hobbies are childish. You think I'm holding you back from some bigger life you deserve. That's not true. Then why didn't you ask me before submitting the loan application? Because
I knew you'd try to talk me out of it.
Because it's a bad idea? Because you're afraid of taking risks? I'm afraid of losing everything for nothing. It's not nothing. It's Danny's dream. Danny's dreams have cost his family thousands of dollars over the years. His parents, his sister Lisa, now us. When does it end, Sarah? When does Danny become responsible for his own dreams? When people stop giving up on him. Or when he stops expecting other people to fund his fantasies. Sarah's face hardened. I'm doing this, Mike. With or without your support. I know you are. So what happens now? I don't know. Are you going to leave me? The question hung in the air between us. Was I? Could I? After 15 years, was this the hill our marriage would die on? I don't know, I said honestly. Well, when you figure it out, let me know. She went upstairs, and I heard the guest bedroom door close. I sat in my living room until midnight, thinking about the life Sarah and I had built together. The house we'd bought as newlyweds, the improvements we'd made over the years, the quiet satisfaction of building something stable and lasting. All of it now at risk because Danny needed to feel like an entrepreneur. The next morning was Sunday. Sarah left early to meet Danny for what she called a development strategy session. I used the time to move more of my radio equipment to the garage, trying to create a workspace that felt less like exile. That's when I found it. Hidden behind some paint cans, wrapped in an old towel, was my 1942 Philco PT-2, a radio I'd been looking for 3 years. Not my radio, Danny's radio. A radio he'd clearly bought and hidden, probably planning to sell it. I unwrapped it carefully. It was in rough condition, but complete, with all the original tubes and components. The serial number confirmed it. This was the exact model I'd been hunting for on eBay and at estate sales. Danny had bought my dream radio and hidden it in my garage. I took pictures of the radio, the serial number, the condition. Then I rewrapped it and put it back exactly where I'd found it. When Sarah and Danny returned that afternoon, I was waiting in the kitchen. How was the strategy session? Productive, Sarah said. We've got a timeline now. Development starts next month. That's great. Hey, Danny, can I ask you something? Sure. Where did you get the money for the radio? Danny's face went blank. What radio? The 1942 Philco PT-2 hidden in my garage. Sarah looked confused. What are you talking about? Danny bought a vintage radio and hid it in the garage, the same model I've been looking for 3 years. I don't know what you're talking about, Danny said, but his voice had lost its usual confidence. It's wrapped in a towel behind the paint cans. Serial number 42PT27751. Ring any bells? Danny glanced at Sarah, then back at me. Oh, that radio. I forgot about that. You forgot about a $3,000 radio? $3,000? Sarah stared at her brother. Danny, where did you get $3,000? It's not $3,000. It's just an old radio. I pulled out my phone and showed them the eBay listing I'd found. Same model, worse condition, sold last month for $2,800. Sarah's face was pale. Danny, where did you get the money? I didn't buy it. I'm holding it for someone. Who? A friend. What friend? You don't know him. Try me. Look, it's complicated, okay? I'm doing a favor for someone. I looked at Sarah. He's lying. I'm not lying. Then explain it. Who's the friend? Why are you holding a $3,000 radio for them? Why is it hidden in my garage? Danny's composure cracked. Fine, I bought it, okay? I was going to surprise you with it, for letting me stay here. With what money? I had some savings. From what? You've been unemployed for 8 months. I sold some stuff. What stuff? Just stuff. Personal stuff. Sarah stepped forward. Danny, tell us the truth, right now. Danny looked trapped. His eyes darted between Sarah and me, calculating his options. I borrowed the money, he finally admitted. From who? From the app investment fund. The room went silent. What app investment fund? Sarah asked quietly. The money you put up.
I used some of it to buy the radio.
You used my inheritance money to buy yourself a radio? Not for myself, for Mike. As a thank you gift. A $3,000 thank you gift that you hid in the garage? I was waiting for the right time to give it to him. Sarah sat down heavily in one of the kitchen chairs. Danny, that money was for app development. There's still plenty left. This was just a small expense. How much is left? Most of it. How much exactly? Danny mumbled something. How much, Danny? About $15,000. $15,000? You spent $15,000 in 1 week? Not spent, invested. I bought equipment for the app development. A new computer, software licenses, marketing materials. What marketing materials? Business cards, flyers, a website design. How much did business cards cost? They're really high-quality business cards. I felt something cold settle in my... Danny, show us the receipts. What receipts? For everything you bought. The computer, the software, the marketing materials. I don't have them with me. Where are they? In my room. Go get them. Right now? Right now. Danny disappeared into my former workshop. We could hear him moving things around, opening drawers, shuffling papers. He came back empty-handed. I can't find them right now. They're mixed in with my other business documents. Sarah stood up slowly. Danny, did you spend $15,000 in 1 week? I invested $15,000 in 1 week. There's a difference. Show me what you bought. What do you mean? I mean, show me the computer, the software, the marketing materials. Show me $15,000 worth of stuff. Danny led us to my workshop. On the desk was a new laptop. Expensive, but not $15,000 expensive. Next to it was a stack of business cards and some printed flyers. Where's the rest? Sarah asked. What rest? The other $14,000 worth of stuff. It's not all physical stuff. Some of it was services, consulting fees, website development, market research. What consulting fees? I hired a business consultant to help with the app strategy. Who? A guy I met online. What's his name? Marcus. Marcus Johnson. How much did you pay Marcus Johnson? $5,000. For what? Business strategy consulting. Show me the contract. What contract? The contract with Marcus Johnson for $5,000 worth of business consulting? We did it on a handshake basis. Sarah's voice was deadly quiet.
Did you give $5,000 to someone you met online with no contract?
It's not like that. He's legitimate. He has references. What references? Other clients he's helped. What are their names? I don't remember their names. You don't remember the names of the references for the consultant you paid $5,000. Danny's face was red now, sweat beading on his forehead. Look, I know how this sounds, but Marcus is legit. He's helping me develop the business plan. Where's the business plan? He's still working on it. When will it be done? Soon. How soon? A few weeks. Danny, I said quietly, you got scammed. I did not get scammed. You gave $3,000 to someone you met online with no contract, no references you can remember, and no deliverable timeline. That's the definition of getting scammed. Marcus is not a scammer. When's the last time you talked to Marcus? Yesterday? Call him. What? Call Marcus Johnson right now. Let's talk to him. Danny pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts, and dialed. We waited. Hi, this is Danny. I'm calling about the business plan. What do you mean this number is no longer in service? He tried again. Same result. Sarah sat down on the futon. Danny, what else did you spend money on? Nothing major. I want a complete accounting, every dollar. For the next hour, Danny walked us through his spending spree. The laptop, $2,000. The radio, $3,000. Marcus Johnson, $5,000. Business cards and flyers, $500. A premium website template, $800. Various business development expenses, $3,700. Total, $15,000. Gone in 1 week. The website template was $800? I asked. It's a really sophisticated template. Show me the website. It's not live yet. Show me the template. Danny opened his laptop and pulled up a basic website template that looked like something you could download for free. You paid $800 for that? It came with premium support and customization options. What premium support? Email support for technical questions. Have you contacted them with any technical questions? Not yet. Try now. Danny. Clement sent an email to the support address. It bounced back immediately. Invalid email address. Sarah put her head in her hands. Danny, you've been scammed. Multiple times. I have not been scammed. Yes, you have. The consultant, the website, probably half the other stuff you bought. You've been targeted by scammers because you were throwing money around online like an amateur. That's not true. Then prove it. Show me one legitimate business expense, one receipt from a real company for a real service. Danny couldn't do it. Sarah, I said gently, we need to call the bank. Cancel any remaining transactions. Report the fraud. It's not fraud, Danny protested. These are legitimate business expenses. Danny, you got conned. It happens, but we need to stop the bleeding before you lose what's left. There's nothing left to lose. The money's gone. Sarah looked up sharply. What do you mean, gone? I mean, I spent it. All of it. You said there was $15,000 left. I meant there was $15,000 left when I started spending today. You spent more money today? Just a little. For app development tools. How much? $10,000. $10,000 today? I found this great development platform that can build the entire app for us. It's a steal at $10,000. Show me, I said. Danny pulled up a website that looked like it had been designed in 1995. App Builder Pro promised to create revolutionary mobile applications for a limited time price of just $9,999. Danny, Sarah said slowly, this is obviously a scam. It's not a scam. Look at their testimonials. The testimonials were clearly fake. Generic names, stock photos, and reviews that all sounded like they'd been written by the same person. Did you already pay them? I put down a deposit. How much? $5,000. Please tell me you didn't give them access to your bank account. Danny's silence was answer enough. Sarah stood up and walked to the window. She stood there for several minutes, looking out at our backyard, not saying anything. Sarah? I said quietly. I need to call the bank. I'll help you. No. I need to do this myself. She left the room, and I could hear her on the phone in the kitchen, explaining to the bank that her account had been compromised. Danny and I sat in uncomfortable silence. Mike, I'm sorry. I really thought... Don't. But I was trying to... Danny, just don't. Please. Are you going to kick me out? I looked at him, really looked at him. 32 years old, sitting in my workshop, having just blown through $30,000 in a week on obvious scams, asking if I was going to kick him out. That's not up to me anymore. Sarah came back 20 minutes later. Her face was pale but composed. The bank can stop any future transactions, but the money that's already gone is gone. They'll investigate the fraudulent charges, but they can't guarantee recovery. How much is left? I asked. Nothing. The account is empty. What about the scammers? The bank will report it to the authorities, but most of these operations are overseas. The chances of getting the money back are basically zero. Danny started to say something, but Sarah cut him off. Just don't say anything right now. She sat down next to me on the couch. Mike, I'm sorry. You were right about everything. I wish I hadn't been. I know. What happens now? Now Danny packs his things and finds somewhere else to live. Danny's head snapped up. Sarah, you can't. I can, and I am. You've cost us $30,000, Danny. $30,000 we don't have. for an app that doesn't exist, paid to scammers who targeted you because you were acting like someone with more money than sense. It was a mistake. It was a series of mistakes. Expensive mistakes that you made with our money. I'll pay you back! With what? You don't have a job. You don't have any money. You don't have any prospects. I'll get a job. You've been saying that for 10 years. This time is different. No, Danny, this time is over. Danny looked at me desperately. Mike, talk to her. Please. She's right, Danny. You need to go. But where am I supposed to go? That's not our problem anymore, Sarah said firmly. You're an adult. Figure it out. I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm family. Family doesn't steal $30,000. I didn't steal it, I invested it in scams. You invested our money in obvious scams because you were too arrogant to do basic research or ask for advice. I was trying to build something. You were trying to get rich quick, and you got us robbed instead. Danny stood up, his face flushed with anger. Fine. I don't need this. I don't need you people judging me and treating me like a criminal. We're not treating you like a criminal, I said. We're treating you like someone who just cost us $30,000. It was an honest mistake. Honest mistakes don't cost $30,000. You know what? I'm glad this happened. Now I know what you really think of me. Sarah laughed bitterly. What we really think of you? Danny, we just watched you get scammed 6 different ways in 1 week. What are we supposed to think? You're supposed to support me. You're supposed to believe in me. We did support you. We gave you a place to live, food to eat, and $30,000 to chase your dream, and you blew it all on scams. I was trying to make us all rich. You were trying to make yourself feel important. Danny stared at his sister for a long moment, then turned and walked toward the door. I'll be out by tomorrow. You'll be out tonight, Sarah said. I want you gone before I wake up tomorrow. After Danny left to pack, Sarah and I sat in the kitchen, not talking. The house felt different already, quieter, but also emptier. Are we going to be okay? She finally asked. Financially? Financially, emotionally, maritally? I don't know. $30,000 is a lot of money. I know. It was our emergency fund. I know. If something happens, if one of us gets sick, if the house needs major repairs, if we lose our jobs, we don't have a safety net anymore. I know. Sarah, why did you trust him? She was quiet for a long time. Because he's my brother. Because I wanted to believe he could succeed at something. Because I thought maybe this time would be different. But you knew his history. I did. You knew he'd failed at everything he'd tried. I did. So why risk everything we had? Sarah started crying then. Not dramatic sobs, just quiet tears, rolling down her cheeks. Because I was tired of being the responsible one. I was tired of playing it safe, of being practical, of building our life one careful step at a time. I wanted to believe that maybe we could have something bigger, something more exciting. What we had wasn't enough? What we had was fine, but fine isn't... It isn't the life I thought I'd have when I was younger. What kind of life did you think you'd have? I don't know. Something more glamorous, I guess. More adventurous. More significant. And I was holding you back from that? No. Maybe. I don't know. Sarah, I need you to know something. I love the life we built together. I love our house, our routine, our quiet weekends working on projects. I love that we pay our bills on time and have money in savings and don't have to worry about whether we can afford groceries. That's not enough for me anymore. What is enough? I don't know. We sat in silence again. Are we going to make it through this? I asked. I don't know that either. Do you want to? Yes, I think so. Do you? I want to. What does that mean? It means I love you, but I don't trust you anymore. It means I'm not sure I can build a life with someone who would risk everything we have without talking to me first. I said I was sorry. I know you are. But sorry doesn't bring back $30,000. So what happens now? Now we figure out how to live with a lot less money and a lot less trust. Can we do that? I don't know. Danny was gone when I woke up the next morning. He'd left a note on the kitchen counter. I'm sorry about the money. I'll pay you back someday. Thanks for everything. Sarah found the note when she came down for coffee. Do you think he means it, she asked? About paying us back? No. Neither do I. I went out to the garage to assess the damage to my workshop. Danny had left it surprisingly clean. No trash, no personal items, even the futon folded neatly. The only sign he'd ever been there was the ring stains on my workbench from his energy drinks. My radios looked lonely, scattered around the garage between paint cans and lawn equipment. I started moving them back to the workshop, one by one, trying to recreate the space that had been mine. The 1942 Philco was still there, wrapped in its towel. I unwrapped it and set it on my workbench. $3,000 of our emergency fund, transformed into a radio I'd wanted but couldn't afford. I plugged it in and turned it on. Nothing. Of course nothing. Vintage radios never work right out of the box. They need restoration, new capacitors, careful cleaning of the tube sockets. I spent the morning working on it, losing myself in the familiar rhythm of diagnosis and repair. By noon, I had it working well enough to pick up a few local stations. Sarah found me there around lunchtime. How's it sound? Good. It'll sound better once I replace the capacitors. Are you going to keep it? I don't know. I could probably sell it, get most of our money back. But you don't want to. No, I don't want to. Then keep it. Sarah, we can't afford. Keep it. It's the only thing we got out of this mess. Might as well be something you actually want. That afternoon, Tom stopped by. I saw his truck pull up and went out to meet him.
Heard Danny moved out,
He said. News travels fast. Small town. How much did he cost you? $30,000. Tom whistled low. Jesus, Mike. Yeah. Sarah okay? She's processing. And you? I'm angry and broke and trying to figure out if my marriage is going to survive this. What do you think? I think we're going to try. I don't know if we're going to succeed. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I know you love her. I do, but I don't know if love is enough anymore. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But friendship might help. Are we still friends? We're still friends. You made a mistake, but you didn't steal my money or sleep with my wife. You just chose poorly when you were in a tough spot. I should have stood up for you. Yeah, you should have, but you didn't, and now we move forward. Just like that, just like that. Life's too short to hold grudges over stupid decisions. We worked together that afternoon, moving my radio collection back to the workshop, reorganizing my tools, making the space mine again. It felt good to have help, to have someone who understood why the precise arrangement of components mattered, why each radio deserved its own spot on the shelf. This is nice, Tom said, examining the 1942 Philco. Where'd you find it? Danny bought it, with our money. Well, at least he has good taste. $3,000 good taste. Could be worse. He could have spent it all in cryptocurrency. He probably tried to. That evening, Sarah and I had dinner together for the first time in weeks without Danny at the table. The house felt bigger, quieter, more like ours again. I called a financial advisor today, Sarah said, to see what our options are. And? We're not in terrible shape, but we're not in great shape either. We'll need to be more careful with money, maybe delay some of the house improvements we were planning. What about retirement? We'll need to work a few years longer than we thought. How many years? Maybe 5, maybe 10, depending on how the market does. I absorbed this information, 10 more years of work, because Danny needed to feel like an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, Mike. I know you are. I mean really sorry. Not just sorry we lost the money, but sorry I didn't listen to you. Sorry I chose Danny over you. Sorry I made you feel like your opinions didn't matter. Thank you. Do you forgive me? I'm trying to. That's honest. It's all I've got right now. It's enough. Over the next few weeks, we settled into a new routine. Sarah threw herself into work, taking on extra listings to help rebuild our savings. I picked up additional service calls, working longer hours to bring in more money. In the evenings, I worked on my radios while Sarah researched investment strategies and budgeting techniques. We were polite to each other, careful, like roommates who were trying not to get on each other's nerves.
It wasn't the marriage we'd had before.
But it wasn't divorce either. Danny called a few times, always asking for money, for a security deposit on an apartment, for groceries, for bus fare. Sarah said no every time, kindly but firmly. He's staying with Lisa now, she told me after one of his calls. How's that going?
About as well as you'd expect.
She's already complaining about his habits. Maybe this will be a wake-up call for him. Maybe. But we both knew it wouldn't be. Danny would find another family member to support him, another scheme to chase, another reason why this time was different. 3 months later, Tom and I were in my workshop, working on a 1939 Zenith that had been giving me trouble. The radio was beautiful, Art Deco styling, original finish, all the tubes intact, but the power supply was shot. Hand me that capacitor, I said. Tom passed me the part. You know, this is worth more than my truck. Your truck runs.
This radio hasn't worked since Carter was president.
But when you get it working, it'll be worth more than my truck. When I get it working, it'll be priceless. Because of the money? Because I'll have brought something beautiful back to life. Tom nodded. He understood. Sarah appeared in the doorway. Mike, there's someone here to see you. I looked up to see a man in an expensive suit standing behind her. Tall, silver-haired, with the kind of confidence that comes from having money. Mr. Patterson, my name is Robert Chen. I'm a collector. I understand you restore vintage radios? I do. I have a 1935 Scott Philharmonic that needs work. It's been in my family for decades, but it hasn't worked in years. Scott Philharmonic? I set down my tools. The Scott Philharmonic was the holy grail of vintage radios. Incredibly rare, incredibly valuable, incredibly difficult to restore properly. You know it? I know of it. I've never seen one in person. Would you be interested in taking a look? I'd pay well for quality work. How well? If you can get it working properly, $10,000. Tom and I exchanged glances. $10,000 was a third of what Danny had cost us. I'd need to see it first, I said. Assess the condition, figure out what parts I'd need. Of course. When would be convenient? This weekend? Perfect. Here's my card. After he left, Tom shook his head. $10,000 for one radio? If it's really a Scott Philharmonic in restorable condition, it's worth $50,000 when it's working. Jesus, no wonder he's willing to pay $10,000. That evening, I told Sarah about the job offer. $10,000, she said. For fixing one radio? For restoring one of the rarest radios ever made, if I can do it. Can you? I don't know. I've never worked on anything that complex, but I'd like to try. Sarah smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in months. Do it. Even if I screw it up? Even if you screw it up. Mike, you're brilliant at this. You bring things back to life that other people have given up on. Like our marriage? Maybe like our marriage. That weekend, I drove to Robert Chen's house, a mansion in the hills overlooking the city. The Scott Philharmonic was everything I'd hoped it would be and more. Massive, complex, beautiful, and completely non-functional. My grandfather bought it new in 1935, Chen told me. It was the most expensive radio you could buy at the time. It was also the best. This is an incredible piece of engineering. Can you fix it? I spent an hour examining the radio, testing circuits, checking tubes, assessing the damage. It was extensive, but not hopeless. I can fix it, I said finally, but it's going to take time, maybe 6 months. Take all the time you need. I loaded the radio carefully into my truck and drove home. Sarah helped me carry it into the workshop. It's beautiful, she said. It will be when I'm done with it. You're going to do this, aren't you? You're going to bring it back to life. I'm going to try. You're going to succeed. How do you know? Because you always do. Because you don't give up on things that matter. Even when other people think they're worthless? Especially then. I worked on the Scott Philharmonic every evening for the next 5 months. Sarah would bring me coffee and sit in the workshop while I worked, sometimes reading, sometimes just watching me diagnose problems and fabricate solutions. We talked while I worked, about the radio, about our finances, about our future. Slowly, carefully, we began rebuilding trust the same way I was rebuilding the radio, one component at a time, testing each connection, making sure everything was solid before moving on to the next step. I got a call from Danny today, Sarah said one evening in March. What did he want? Money for a security deposit. He's got a new roommate situation lined up. What did you tell him? I told him no. How did he take it? About as well as you'd expect. He said I was abandoning family, that I'd changed, that I used to be supportive. Do you feel guilty? A little, but not enough to send him money. Good. Is that terrible? That I don't feel worse about saying no to my brother? It's realistic. Danny's problems aren't your responsibility. I know that now. I wish I'd known it 6 months ago. We all learn at our own pace. Some of us learn expensive lessons. The expensive ones tend to stick. In April, I powered up the Scott Philharmonic for the first time. It didn't work. I'd expected that. Vintage radios never work on the first try after major restoration. But it didn't catch fire or blow fuses, which meant I was on the right track. Over the next month, I traced down the remaining problems one by one. A bad solder joint here, a wrong value capacitor there, a tube that tested good but performed poorly under load. On a Saturday morning in May, with Sarah and Tom watching, I turned on the Scott Philharmonic and slowly tuned across the AM band. The sound that came out of that radio was unlike anything I'd ever heard from a vintage set. Rich, full, powerful, the way radio was meant to sound before transistors and digital processing. My God, Tom said. That's incredible. Sarah was crying. You did it. You actually did it. I called Robert Chen, and he came over that afternoon. When he heard his grandfather's radio playing again, he cried too. It sounds exactly like I remember from when I was a child, he said. Exactly. He wrote me a check for $12,000, $2,000 more than he'd promised. That's too much, I said. No, it's not. You didn't just fix a radio. You brought back a piece of my family's history. That night, Sarah and I celebrated with dinner at our favorite restaurant. The first time we'd eaten out in months.
$12,000, she said.
That's almost half of what we lost. It's a start. Maybe you should do this professionally. Radio restoration, I mean. Maybe I should. You could advertise online, build a website, take on more collectors. That sounds like a business plan. A real business plan, with actual customers and realistic projections.
Not like Danny's app.
Nothing like Danny's app. 6 months later, Patterson Radio Restoration was bringing in enough money to replace my electrical work entirely. Word had spread among collectors, and I had a waiting list of radios to restore. Sarah had started helping with the business side, scheduling appointments, managing finances, building the website. We were partners again, working toward the same goals. I got an email today, she said one evening. Someone wants you to restore a 1936 McMurdo silver masterpiece. A masterpiece? Those are even rarer than the Scott. He's offering $15,000. $15,000 to restore one radio? Apparently it belonged to his father, who was a radio engineer. It has sentimental value. Everything has sentimental value to someone.
我哈，咱今接着买耶，到午也可米一说，才买还。
That's what makes your work special. You're not just fixing electronics, you're preserving memories.
我们经验随性跟保险突出为一些付。
Is that what I'm doing? That's what you've always done. It will feel this. With radios, with our marriage, with friendships, you fix things that matter.
I couldn't fix Danny.
Danny didn't want to be fixed. He wanted to be enabled.
What's the difference?
Fixing requires admitting something's broken. Enabling lets you pretend everything's fine while making the problem worse. Like giving him $30,000 to chase a dream that was obviously a scam. Like that. Do you think he's learned anything? I think Danny will keep being Danny until being Danny stops working for him. And when will that be? When people stop giving him money for being Danny. We never heard from Danny again. Sarah heard through Lisa that he'd moved to California to pursue opportunities in the entertainment industry. Then to Colorado for a marijuana business venture. Then to Florida for reasons that were never entirely clear. Tom and I rebuilt our friendship, stronger than before. He started helping with radio restorations, learning to recap circuits and align tuning mechanisms. He had good hands and patience for detail work. You know what I like about this? He said one day, working on a 1940 Philco. What? When we're done, it either works or it doesn't. No maybes, no projections, no revolutionary platforms. It either picks up radio stations or it doesn't.
That's the beauty of honest work.
Honest work with honest people.
Speaking of honest people, Sarah wants to know if you and Jennifer want to come over for dinner Sunday.
We'd like that.
Good.
She's making her famous lasagna. The one with the secret ingredient? The one with the secret ingredient. Sunday dinner became a weekly tradition. Tom and Jennifer, sometimes other friends, sometimes just the four of us. Sarah would cook, I'd tell stories about the radios I was working on, and we'd remember what it felt like to have a social life that didn't revolve around family drama. 2 years after Danny left, Sarah and I had rebuilt our emergency fund, and were ahead of where we'd been before the whole mess started. The radio restoration business was thriving, and Sarah had gotten her real estate license renewed with a focus on helping clients buy and sell vintage homes. We make a good team, she said one evening, reviewing the books for both our businesses. We always did. Even when I was being stupid about Danny, especially then, I just didn't realize it at the time. What do you mean? I mean, you needed to learn that lesson. About Danny, about taking risks, about the difference between supporting someone and enabling them. I couldn't teach you that lesson. Danny had to teach it to you. $30,000 is an expensive education. But it worked. You learned, and now you know. Now I know. And I learned something too. What did you learn? I learned that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you love is let them make their own mistakes. Even when it costs $30,000? Even when it cost $30,000. Do you really mean that? I really mean that. Good, because I have another brother. I looked at her in horror. She laughed. I'm kidding. Danny was enough family drama for one lifetime. That's not funny. It's a little funny. It's not funny at all. Okay, it's not funny, but it's over. Danny's gone, the money's replaced, and we're stronger than we were before. Are we? Aren't we? I thought about it. We'd survived a financial disaster, a family crisis, and a near divorce. We'd rebuilt our savings, our business, and our trust in each other. We'd learned to say no to family members and yes to each other. Yeah, I said, I think we are. Good, because I have one more surprise. Please tell me it doesn't involve any of your relatives. It doesn't involve any of my relatives. What is it? Sarah pulled out a small wrapped box. It's our anniversary next week. 16 years. I didn't forget. I know you didn't, but I wanted to give you this early. I unwrapped the box. Inside was a brass nameplate. Patterson Radio Restoration, Master Craftsman. For your workbench, she said. Sarah. You are a master craftsman, Mike. You bring things back to life that other people have given up on. Radios, friendships, marriages. You're the best at what you do. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for being worth not giving up on. I installed the nameplate on my workbench that evening, right next to the 1942 Philco that Danny had inadvertently bought. Me. The radio worked perfectly now, its warm glow filling the workshop with golden light. Tom stopped by to see the nameplate. Master Craftsman, he read. I like it. Sarah's idea. Sarah has good ideas. She has better ideas now than she used to. Experience will do that. Expensive experience. The expensive kind tends to stick. That's what I told her. Smart man. smart enough to know when I've got a good thing. Speaking of good things, Jennifer wants to know if you guys want to go camping next weekend. Nothing fancy, just a long weekend at the lake.
这一节访是下一节试着试点，
That sounds perfect.
所以就是试着是有
Good. I'll tell her yes.
yeah， 所以有夜
After Tom left, I sat in my workshop, surrounded by radios in various stages of restoration. Each one had a story, a family heirloom, a collector's prize, a piece of history that someone cared enough about to have properly restored. Like my marriage, they were all fixable. Some required more work than others. Some needed rare parts that took months to find. But with enough patience and skill, almost anything could be brought back to life. The key was knowing the difference between something that was worth fixing and something that was beyond repair. The key was understanding that some things, like vintage radios and good marriages, were worth whatever effort it took to make them work again. And some things, like Danny's schemes and get-rich-quick dreams, were never worth fixing in the first place because they were never real to begin with. I turned off the lights and headed upstairs, where Sarah was reading in bed. Good day? She asked. Good day. Tomorrow will be better. How do you know? Because we're getting better at this. At life, at business, at being married. We're learning. What are we learning? We're learning what matters and what doesn't. We're learning who to trust and who not to trust. We're learning the difference between supporting someone and enabling them. And what have we learned about Danny? We've learned that Danny is Danny. He'll always be Danny. And that's not our problem anymore. Do you miss him? I miss the brother I thought he could become. I don't miss the brother he actually is. That's sad. It's realistic, and realistic is better than delusional. Even when realistic is sadder? Especially when realistic is sadder. I turned off the light and settled into bed next to my wife. Outside, it was raining. The kind of steady Pacific Northwest rain that makes you grateful to be inside, warm and dry and safe. Mike? Yeah? I love you. I love you too. Even after everything? Especially after everything. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. Neither am I. Promise. Promise. And I meant it. We'd been tested by family drama, financial disaster, and our own poor judgment, and we'd come through it, stronger and smarter and more committed to each other than we'd been before. Danny had cost us $30,000 and nearly destroyed our marriage. But in the end, he taught us something valuable about the difference between real love and enabling, between supporting someone's dreams and funding their delusions, between family loyalty and family stupidity. The lesson had been expensive, but it had been worth it, because now we knew. Now we were stronger. Now we were ready for whatever came next. And what came next was a good life, built one careful decision at a time, with no shortcuts and no get-rich-quick schemes, and no family members who confused emotional manipulation with love. Just honest work, honest money, and honest relationships with people who understood the difference between helping and enabling, between dreaming and scheming, between family and freeloaders. It had taken us $30,000 and 2 years to learn that lesson, but we'd learned it, and that made all the difference.